Welcome back. Illinois Senator Dick Durbin's retirement has set off a crowded Democratic primary for his seat. One of those candidates is Congresswoman Robin Kelly, who is also heading a push to impeach Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem amid a renewed wave of anti-ICE sentiment from some Democrats on Capitol Hill. I spoke to Congresswoman Kelly last hour ahead of the House vote on funding for the Department of Homeland Security. And joining me now is Congresswoman and Illinois Senate candidate Robin Kelly. Congresswoman Kelly, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks so much for having me.
Well, we really appreciate it. I do want to get to your race, but before we get to your race, let me start with some of the big headlines, including coming out of Minnesota. The vice president there on the ground today, really calling for tensions to lower in the wake, of course, of the shooting there of the 37-year-old woman. I want to play a little bit of what he had to say and get your reaction on the other side.
Whenever you have a law enforcement operation, even if 99.99% of the guys do everything perfectly, you're going to have people that make mistakes. That is the nature of law enforcement. What I do think that we can do is, working with state and local officials, we can make the worst moments of chaos much less common, and all they've got to do is meet us halfway.
Congresswoman, what do you make of that argument? The vice president saying all you have to do is meet ICE officials halfway.
Well, I know from representing the Chicagoland area, ICE wasn't welcomed from the beginning, and they're coming into Democratic cities and terrorizing communities and traumatizing communities and people. So that's part of the problem, that they're coming into places that they're not welcome. People are afraid of them. People are afraid to go outside. They don't seem to have the same rules a regular police force would have in a municipality. So that's what's they're causing some of the angst that they are experiencing.
Let me follow up with you on that point, because you've gone so far as to introduce articles of impeachment against DHS Secretary Kristi Noem. You've accused her of instigating a, quote, reign of terror. The resolution currently has over 100 Democratic co-sponsors, but do you think that you would garner enough support to actually get this passed?
Well, that's what we're working on now. We're at 110, I was just told, now, and gaining, and other members told me that they would help me, with other members. So that's what we're working on now. And we've been working on the article since October, actually, since they came to Chicago or the Chicagoland area and did the things that they did. And they're still there now, just moving to other places.
Well, let me ask you, because some of your colleagues, Congressman Bishop of Georgia said, quote, impeachment would be a distraction. Congressman Gray of California questioned whether it would have, quote, any consequential change in people's lives. How do you respond to that skepticism and criticism?
Well, I know affordability in health care is the issue. I know that for sure. But the thing about what they're doing, they're hurting people going to work. So many people are not going to work, and so that hurts their bottom line. So many people are not shopping. I had a town hall meeting in a grocery store, and people told me they were afraid to come outside, afraid to shop. Restaurants are hurting, so they are hurting affordability in the bottom line.
You say, you're focused on affordability, but do you worry that trying to impeach DHS Secretary Noem in a Republican-led House could distract from that overarching
I don't think
focus?
so. I don't think so. I think we know affordability is the bottom line, but also she needs to be held accountable, and she needs to know that Congress is watching, but more importantly, people are watching, the public is watching, and the public is not happy with what is going on.
I do want to ask you, the House is, of course, voting on this bipartisan funding package that would include some changes to DHS, but certainly not everything that Democrats were demanding. Committee ranking member Congressman DeLauro acknowledged that Democrats didn't get everything that they wanted, but also said, quote, is there something good for TSA? Is there something good for FEMA? If your house is blown up, is there something good for the Coast Guard? Effectively saying, look, there are parts of this that are effective. What do you say to the argument? I
don't deny that there are part of it that are good, but I can't vote for anything that gives DHS and ICE.
So you're a no.
I'm a no.
You're
cannot do it. And they have enough money for what they're doing. They have too much money.
But are you worried, though? Are you prepared to, I should say, actually shut down the government over your dispute over what you want to see in this funding package?
Well, that's not the only package. We're voting on. There's 3 other packages beside that. And, of course, I don't want to see the government shut down, people not getting paid, including my employees, but I'm not going to vote for that bill.
So let's talk about your Senate race. You're running for the seat of Senator Dick Durbin, who's, of course, retiring. It is a crowded Democratic field. It includes the Lieutenant Governor, Juliana Stratton, as well as Congressman Krista Murthy, who's leading in the polls. What is your strategy to come back and win in that race?
Well, I'm running on a platform of people over profits. I think it's about time that millionaires, billionaires, and corporations pay their fair share. And when we do that, then we can work on more housing, more affordable housing. In the richest country in the history of the world, there is no reason why everyone doesn't have health care, Medicare for all. We need to invest in economic development so there's economic opportunity. We need to make sure people make fair wages, all very important. That child care, people are paying more child care than rent. We need to cap how much people are paying in child care. So I think that I'm talking about kitchen table items that keep the regular person up at night, and I'm listening. I've been all over the state, and I'm listening to what people have to say, and I have a history of accomplishments and winning.
It is a statewide race. Chunk of your constituents voted for President Trump. You have been an outspoken critic of President Trump. How do you walk that fine line of staying true to your opposition but not alienating critical voters who you may, in fact, need to win?
My district is urban, suburban, and rural. I have 4,500 farms in my district, and most of those farmers don't vote like I vote, but I have a very good relationship. I've been able to pass legislation, meaningful legislation under President Obama, President Trump, and President Biden, and bipartisan legislation around health care, around dental care, around issues with farmers. So I know how to build relations. And no, we're not always going to agree, but I get things done.
Finally, before I let you go, there has been debate within your party about whether Leader Schumer is the best person to lead Democrats. If you were to be elected, would you vote for him to be the Democratic leader in the Senate?
I would have to see who's running against him. I don't know that yet. I haven't heard about anyone running against him, but I would, give everybody a look and see what they offer the party.
So at this point in time, you're not necessarily committed to, if you were to win.
I have to win first.
Chuck Schumer. Yeah, a couple of steps that have to happen beforehand.
Right.
Okay. All right. Congresswoman, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
We really appreciate it.
We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.